Hello, friends. Welcome to Storycraft. On this channel, you will enjoy world top stories. Let's view the video. The Barbarian Who Conquered Rome. Rise of the Barbarian Chief. The untamed lands beyond the empire. Far beyond the marble columns and sprawling streets of Rome, in the dense forests and rugged mountains, lived tribes the Romans called barbarians. Wild and fierce, they were seen as uncivilized, but among them rose a leader unlike any other, a man born not just to fight, but to change history forever. Born into chaos. He came from a tribe torn by endless conflict. His childhood was marked by battles for survival, against rival clans, hunger, and the harsh elements. Yet from the very beginning, he showed signs of something greater. While other boys learned only the art of war, he also learned strategy, diplomacy, and how to inspire loyalty. The blood of a warrior. From a young age, he was trained in the brutal skills of combat. Swordsmanship, hunting, and endurance became second nature. But what set him apart was his understanding that raw strength alone would never be enough to challenge the mighty Roman Empire. He needed more: cunning, alliances, and vision. Tribe united, his tribe was fractured and weak, plagued by infighting and distrust. Many believed they were doomed to remain pawns in Rome's game, but the young chief refused to accept this fate. Through powerful speeches and fearless deeds, he united the warring clans under his banner. Suddenly, they were no longer scattered. Warriors, they were an army. Rumors reach Rome. Whispers of this barbarian chief's rise traveled fast. Roman senators and generals scoffed at the idea that a savage from the wilderness could threaten their eternal city. But some feared what they couldn't ignore: a growing force that was becoming disciplined, ruthless, and hungry for conquest. The first victories. With his new army, the chief launched daring raids on Roman outposts. Unlike the chaotic attacks typical of barbarians, his strikes were swift, coordinated, and devastating. These early victories sent shockwaves through the empire and gave hope to those who longed to see Rome's power challenged. The turning point. The young chief realized that to truly conquer Rome, brute force alone wouldn't suffice. He began to adopt Roman tactics, learned their weaknesses, and even recruited defectors from the empire's ranks. This blend of barbarian ferocity and Roman strategy made him a force no one could underestimate. A leader for the ages. By the time he reached adulthood, he was no longer just a tribal chief. He was a symbol of rebellion and strength, a beacon for all who wished to see the old empire fall. His name, once unknown beyond the forests, began to inspire fear and respect alike. Clash of Worlds, Barbarian versus Empire. The empire that thought it was invincible. Rome, the eternal city, stood proud and unshaken for centuries. Its vast empire stretched across continents, ruled by legions of disciplined soldiers and cunning politicians. The world believed Rome to be invincible, an unstoppable force of law, order, and power. But the barbarian chief was about to test that belief. Two worlds on a collision course. The barbarians lived by different rules: freedom, loyalty to their tribe, and fierce independence. Rome demanded order, submission, and control. These worlds were destined to clash, but no one expected the ferocity and brilliance the barbarian chief would bring to the battlefield. The first encounter. The Roman governor received reports of a growing threat, raids not by scattered bandits, but a united, organized force striking deep into Roman lands. Determined to crush this uprising, he dispatched a legion to hunt down the barbarians and restore order. The battlefield is set. The clash happened on a vast plain near the empire's border. Roman legions formed their legendary formations, tight shields, disciplined ranks, and unyielding resolve. Opposite them stood the barbarian army, wild-eyed but sharply commanded by their chief. This was no ordinary battle. It was a war of ideologies, a brutal dance of steel and strategy. As the battle erupted, the barbarians charged with savage fury, trying to break the Roman lines. But the legionaries held firm, their shields forming an impenetrable wall. The barbarian chief, however, had studied Roman tactics closely and adapted quickly. The surprise tactic. Instead of a full frontal assault, the chief sent swift cavalry units to flank the Romans, hitting their vulnerable sides. At the same time, archers rained deadly arrows from the forests surrounding the field. The Romans found themselves trapped between relentless pressure and unexpected attacks. Rome's pride shattered. The disciplined Roman army, used to dominating disorganized enemies, struggled to regroup. For the first time in decades, Rome faced a foe that could outthink and outmaneuver them on the battlefield. The barbarians pushed forward, turning the tide in their favor. A leader's courage inspires. In the thick of battle, the barbarian chief rode fearlessly, rallying his troops, with fierce cries and unbreakable determination. His presence was electric, inspiring warriors to fight beyond their limits. Many Roman soldiers would later whisper about the terrifying figure who seemed invincible. The aftermath. Rome's shock. The battle ended with a decisive barbarian victory. The Romans retreated, stunned and humiliated. The barbarians didn't just win a fight. They shattered Rome's image of unbeatable strength. The victory sent ripples through the empire. Fear, anger, and disbelief spread among the elites. The empire responds. Rome could not ignore this threat. The Senate called emergency sessions, generals prepared new armies, and spies were sent to infiltrate the barbarian ranks. The empire's machinery of war was mobilized like never before, but the barbarian chief remained always one step ahead. The war has only just begun. What started as a border skirmish quickly turned into a full-scale war. The clash of worlds had begun, with neither side willing to back down. For the barbarians, it was a fight for survival and freedom. For Rome, it was a desperate battle to hold on to a fading empire. The siege that shook Rome, the city of marble and mystery. Rome, the heart of the ancient world, was more than just a city. It was a symbol of power, culture, and civilization. Its towering walls, grand temples, and bustling markets stood as a testament to centuries of dominance. But beneath this grandeur, fear began to stir. The barbarian chief was marching closer, ready to challenge the very foundations of the empire. Preparing for the unthinkable. Roman generals scrambled to fortify the city. Soldiers sharpened their swords, repaired the walls, and stockpiled supplies. Citizens barricaded doors and prayed to their gods. Yet many whispered in secret, how could Rome, so mighty and secure, fall to the barbarian horde? The barbarian army arrives. With thunderous steps and war cries echoing through the valleys, the barbarian army appeared on the horizon. Their banners, once symbols of scattered tribes, now united under a single chief, waved fiercely in the wind. The city gates trembled as the siege began. The first assault. The barbarians launched relentless attacks on the city walls. Catapults hurled massive stones, battering ram crews thundered against gates, and archers loosed fiery arrows. Rome's defenders fought bravely, repelling wave after wave, but the pressure was unyielding. Ingenuity in desperation. As days dragged on, the barbarian chief revealed a mind as sharp as his blade. He ordered the construction of massive siege towers, slowly inching closer to the walls, allowing warriors to scale the defenses. Engineers devised cunning traps and tunnels to breach Rome's seemingly impregnable fortifications. The city begins to crack. Inside the walls, supplies dwindled and morale waned. Food became scarce, disease spread in cramped quarters, and fear took hold. Even the proud Roman soldiers, trained for war, felt the weight of the siege pressing on their spirits. The Diwas secret betrayal. In the shadowed alleys of Rome, whispers of betrayal grew louder. Some nobles, disillusioned with the empire, secretly met with barbarian envoys, offering hidden gates and secret passages. The barbarian chief, ever astute, exploited these fractures within Rome's heart. The night of fire and blood under the fires. Cover of darkness, the barbarians launched a surprise attack through a secret entrance. Flames erupted in the streets, lighting up the night sky. Chaos reigned as warriors flooded the city, fighting fiercely against desperate defenders. The city's fate hung by a thread. The fall of a legend. After weeks of brutal siege, Rome's walls were finally breached. The barbarian chief led the charge into the heart of the city, his presence shaking even the most hardened soldiers. The proud empire's capital, the city that had stood for 1,000 years, was now under his control. The aftermath of conquest. But the barbarian chief did not unleash destruction as many expected. Instead, he showed a strange respect for Rome's culture and people. He spared many lives, restored order, and even preserved some of the city's great monuments. His conquest was not just a victory of force, but a reshaping of history. A new chapter begins. The siege that shook Rome was more than a military triumph. It was the turning point that marked the decline of the old empire and the rise of a new era. The barbarian chief had proven that even the greatest powers could fall, and that legends could be made from the unlikeliest of heroes. Betrayal and bloodlines. The fragile peace. After the siege, the city of Rome lay scarred but standing, its ancient walls now under the control of the barbarian chief. A fragile peace settled over the once great empire's capital. Yet beneath the surface, old rivalries and new ambitions stirred like a brewing storm. Secrets hidden in shadows. While the chief worked to unite his new realm, whispers of betrayal began to ripple through the city. Some Roman nobles, once loyal to the empire, saw the barbarians' conquest as an opportunity, a chance to reclaim power by switching allegiances. Others plotted in secret, determined to restore Rome's dominance at any cost. Bloodlines torn apart. The barbarian chief's own family was not immune to the chaos. His bloodline, forged in war and survival, faced internal strife. Brothers and cousins, each craving power and respect, clashed violently behind closed doors. These family battles threatened to unravel everything the chief had built. The Poisoned Alliance. One of the chief's closest allies, a trusted general from a rival tribe, secretly conspired with Roman conspirators. Their plan was simple yet deadly: assassinate the chief and plunge the city back into chaos. The betrayal cut deep, shaking the very foundation of the barbarians' rule. A web of deception. Rumors swirled like wildfire, false letters, secret meetings, and hidden plots. The chief, aware of the growing danger, began to play a dangerous game of espionage. Informants infiltrated enemy ranks, and spies uncovered the darkest secrets buried in Rome's corridors of power. The Night of the Poisoned Chalice. In a dramatic turn, an attempt was made to poison the chief during a grand feast meant to celebrate unity. The cup intended for him was laced with deadly venom, but fate intervened. A loyal guard intercepted the attack just in time, saving the barbarian's life, but exposing the conspiracy. Blood on the throne. The failed assassination ignited a brutal purge. The chief's warriors hunted down traitors within both Roman and barbarian ranks. Families once allied were torn apart by suspicion and revenge. The city, still healing from war, now faced the horrors of betrayal from within. The price of power. The barbarian chief learned a harsh truth. Conquering Rome was only the beginning. Maintaining control meant navigating a labyrinth of politics, loyalty, and treachery. Every decision weighed heavily, knowing one misstep could cost him everything: his life, his family, and his empire. The legacy of ancestors. In the midst of turmoil, the chief sought strength in his bloodline's history. Tales of ancient warriors, kings, and survivors reminded him of the resilience that coursed through his veins. He vowed to protect his legacy, no matter the cost. A new resolve. From the ashes of betrayal, a new determination arose. The chief realized that true conquest was not just winning battles, but mastering the fragile art of trust and leadership. Rome's future, and his own, depended on it. The shadows still linger. Though peace returned, shadows of betrayal never fully faded. The chief remained vigilant, knowing that in the game of power, enemies lurked in every corner. But he was ready, stronger, wiser, and more determined than ever to carve his place in history. The legacy of a conqueror. From barbarian to legend. The barbarian chief, once a fierce warrior from the wildlands, had transformed into a ruler who changed the course of history. His conquest of Rome was not just a moment of victory. It was the birth of a legend that echoed through the ages. A new Rome. Under his rule, Rome did not crumble into chaos. Instead, it evolved. The barbarian chief blended the strength of his tribe with the wisdom of Roman traditions, creating a new order. This fusion of cultures reshaped the empire's future and surprised both friends and foes alike. Stories passed down. Generations told tales of the barbarian conqueror, a leader who dared to challenge the mightiest empire and won. Songs, poems, and histories celebrated his courage, strategy, and vision. His name became synonymous with power and change. The shadow of influence. Even centuries later, his legacy influenced rulers and warriors around the world. Some sought to imitate his boldness, others feared the example he set. The barbarian chief showed that with determination and cunning, even the greatest empires could be challenged. Lessons in leadership. His life taught one vital truth. True conquest isn't only about battles won, but about inspiring loyalty, adapting to change, and leading with both strength and wisdom. This lesson remains timeless, inspiring leaders far beyond his era. An enduring mystery. Despite the fame, many details about his life remain lost in history's shadows. Secrets buried beneath ruins and forgotten scrolls. This mystery adds to the fascination, keeping his story alive in the hearts of millions. The legend lives on. The barbarian who conquered Rome may have passed into legend, but his impact never faded. His story is a reminder that even the wildest underdogs can reshape the world. And that greatness often comes from the most unexpected places. Thanks for watching. Subscribe our channel Storycraft for more interesting videos.